conversation I would really like to have today is these three aspects of yoga, which I think are really important, are the spiritual aspect. We can call that meditation, our meditation practice, and how meditation brings wisdom and helps to clarify our life and our own self-awareness. The energetic part of our practice, which has to do with pranayama, so creating and connecting to prana, and also through aligning our chakras, which helps our energy to flow through our body. And then the other aspect, that what stimulates our prana, stimulates our energy, is our asana practice. So how these three things together in the correct balance, because they're not all equal, and how they come together. We need a little shot of this, maybe 2 shots of that, maybe 10 shots of something else. And it changes. Sometimes we need more wisdom, and sometimes we need to get out of bed and just practice. So I would just like to share and hear you share, how has this been for you discovering this path of balance, and ultimately when we're in balance, that we find healing. Because that is really what I'm interested in sharing with people, is how do you find healing on your path?
Well, you start with accepting where you are in the moment with all the imbalances, and so there's really no right or wrong. And just being an observer and being okay with what is, which is a really hard thing to do. Yes, but just making friends with your fears or your worries, and if you're in a physical practice, making friends with the sensations. Just focus on the sensations, make friends with the sensations. What does it feel like? Yes, we're here to heal, but we want to allow the body to open up as we move the energy, as we move the prana, as we restore the flow of energy. It's not a passive acceptance, you have to put in your work, but at the same time that you're working, is that, okay, this is where I am, it's okay, and just having compassion for yourself while you go through that process.
So I guess what comes up for me, that question is, how are we separate? What is the separation between our body and us? I guess for me, it's thinking. It's thinking and this desire to be at a destination. You know, and I don't even really know all the time what the destination is.
Yeah.
This thinking doesn't have anything really to do with what my body needs.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I can interject something, it's more the identification with thinking than not thinking, because you can't really stop thinking. And when you are aware that you're thinking, then there is a little bit of an opening to not just go along with the thoughts, but to observe them and drop into something else that is happening in the moment. Because usually when I'm thinking, it doesn't have anything to do with right now. It has to do with something before, something ahead.
Yes.
And so the recognition that, oh wow, there's a thought, gives me the space to drop in. And that's the opening, like the opening of the door to step out of that separation that happens through thinking, in my experience. What yoga did is it showed me a way to be with the pain that was there, and how I was trying to just get over it, fix it. And yoga gave me a methodology to, wait a second, I'm not trying to get over there. I'm wanting to be with this experience because this is my life. And in being with my life, there is healing that happens. Eventually, it might get healed, we hope. But it's not about how can I just buckle up so that I can get over there. But instead, I think really yoga practice, awareness practice, being in the body with awareness is one of the methodologies that has allowed me to step out of that level of unconsciousness and unconsciousness of what's real in this moment, and taking me out of wanting to go over there and get stuff done.
So for me personally, the concept of starting with the body and starting with the asana, that was my first introduction to yoga. And it's so interesting, some of the things that you say are so similar to what I was feeling, but the the environment was different. So I was really focused on, I wanted to do that. That looks cool, that looks hard, that looks challenging, and with a background as a dancer, it fed part of me that actually didn't really need to be fed. So starting with the asana practice and looking at it actually as sort of a goal-oriented activity over time through the reality of life, injury, aging, everything that happens, relationships. To me, yoga was the bridge to finding me, the real me, instead of trying to show up. I can't say I was aware of it at the time, but I was trying to show up a certain way and trying to keep everything so together in that box of who I thought I was and who I wanted to be, that it was getting in the way of who I was. So it was when I started layering more education, meditation, the spiritual aspect, even learning about the philosophy of yoga, that it sort of broke down the image of me. And this took a long time, and it's still greatly in process. But it's been such a beautiful journey to be okay with being me and finding out what part of me is a gift that I can offer to other people.
So everything, when you've mentioned, and you've also mentioned that it's, and I feel it, is so much about this is natural process.
Yes.
It happens. I really encourage students to let the asana teach you. Let your body teach you naturally what your body can do. Where else would you go for your body's wisdom except to your body? As a teacher, I can guide you to your body, but your body needs to guide you into the pose. It needs to guide you to the asana. And it really strikes me how much of it just comes naturally. You practice, you get stronger. You practice pranayama, you get a deeper breath, you get more energy. You practice mindfulness, you get more self-awareness. It's not like we have to work, and this is another thing in our practice, is seeing how hard we work. We don't have to work so hard. We really don't have to work so hard. We need to, I had a teacher used to say, we need to work smarter. Not harder. And the smarts, the funny thing is, the smarts we have. The smarts are in our cell tissue. Our body is thousands and thousands of years old. The memory and the evolution of our body, it knows what it needs, it knows what to do, and we need to listen to it. And that's really a practice, whether it's meditation, whether it's learning the mysteries of pranayama, whether it's doing asana, is listening. It's a listening process.
So I was thinking about, that piece about trusting yourself. Trusting yourself is really trusting the cells. The cells know what to do. They don't have to go on Google or watch YouTube. They know what to do. And the cells are not any different than anything else out in the universe. We all have this way in which the whole universe is alive and ticks according to its own wonderful rhythm. And that's the place where we can drop, one of the places we can drop out of duality, really, and into non-duality, at that very elemental, essential, microscopic and yet universal place of the deeper intelligence of the smallest unit of life. So really trusting that.
So in speaking to the idea, the concept of non-duality, we talk about self-inquiry and hearing. Basically it's hearing. So you have to slow down and to hear. And the healing happens gradually over time. And to me, one way of describing healing is actually the intimacy of what you're talking about, the union of yourself with people, yourself with things, yourself with the world, and that really is the definition of yoga. So it's that intimacy that once we get out of our own way, we get the things out of our way, that it is a natural process.
Once you can connect to your own self and peel off all the layers of all the roles that we play, whether it's mother, teacher, this, then who's Maria, who's really Maria, what's the essence of Maria, right? Then by understanding yourself, then you can see Maria and Jonathan, you can see Maria and Kiara, and then we can not feel so, like we're individual parts, but we're, cells in this whole community, so we all have our function and we all work together.
Ultimately, what we're talking about is beyond words.
Yes.
And that is really the confusing part, because we talk about it like we actually know what we're talking about. But ultimately, what we're talking about can't be put into words. It can only be experienced.
Yes.
And if we can, and that's what you were just talking about, take away, like peeling an onion, and ultimately when you get to the bottom, it's like, where's the onion? And it's like,
and you're still talking.
It's right there.
That's why meditation is so important, because that's connecting to that place beyond words.
Right.
Yeah?
You have an experience. You have to experience it, and you can experience it in your own body. That's the great thing I really love about asana practice. We can experience this mystery. Well, what is pranayama? What is asana practice? Ultimately, I don't know, but I have an experience. I have an experience of energy, I have an experience of breath, I have an experience of correct alignment. That's my own experience. So each of us needs to have our own experience in our practice. And that's really as a guide, a teacher training guide, I feel I want to help people towards, not help, be an example, show them how to do an assist, teach meditation, teach anatomy, philosophy, all these things do dancing, is so that a person can find, okay, what's this about? And this inquiry into this moment, into their experience. What is this moment now? What am I bringing to it? What's being asked of me in this moment? And starting to get some clarity about what this moment is about, what's our experience about in our practice, and then taking this inquiry into what's our experience about in our everyday life, in our relationship. It really comes down to questioning, really having a big question, what is my practice about? That's what we're going to do in a teacher training, is explore what's my practice, what's my life about, and then what do I do with this thing when I find it?